From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. First, the headlines. U.S. shatters hospitalization record for coronavirus patients. Biden gambles filibuster on voting rights reform. Muslim scientist leads team implanting pig heart in a human being. Islamic Sukuk issuance jumps by 36% in 2021. Holding $9 billion hostage, U.S. offers $300 million as Afghans starve. Sanctions on Mali put exemption on gold digging. Our top story tonight. The United States set a record Tuesday for the number of people hospitalized with the coronavirus, shattering a previously high set in January 2021. Nationwide, over 145,000 people were hospitalized with the virus, according to the U.S. Health and Human Services Department. Cases have been spiking across the country as the Omicron variant has led to an unprecedented winter surge. Roughly 1.5 million cases were registered Monday, data from Johns Hopkins University shows. The vast majority of people being hospitalized with infections are unvaccinated. Vaccinated people are about 5 times less likely to become infected. President Joe Biden took a major political gamble Tuesday, calling for an end to the Senate's supermajority rule. The aim is to allow Democrats to override Republican opposition to voting rights reforms that Biden calls crucial to saving U.S. democracy. Biden called the Capitol riot by supporters of Donald Trump last year an attempted coup. He said this is the moment to decide to defend our elections, to defend our democracy. Biden challenged Democrats to stand up for 2 bills that would expand access to polls and prevent practices that suppress Black and other Democratic-leaning voters.
But as an institutionalist, I believe that the threat to our democracy is so grave that we must find a way to pass these voting rights bills. Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And if that bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this.
Dr. Mohammad Mohyeddin, a Pakistani-American Muslim, led a team of U.S. surgeons that implanted a genetically modified pig heart into a human being. It was a medical first that could help solve the chronic shortage of organ donations. About 110,000 Americans are waiting for an organ transplant, and more than 6,000 patients die each year before getting one, official data shows. Mohyeddin is at the center of the xenotransplantation research, which involves grafting animal organs into dying patients. He is the director of the Cardiac Xenotransplantation Program at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. Mohyeddin has spent 30 years trying to help increase the chances of survival for terminal patients who need heart transplants.
We are all very excited to see this big heart beating in this human. This big heart has performed so far very well, even beyond our expectations. We have not seen any signs of rejection. It is a game changer because, now we will have these organs readily available. If this works, and I hope it will work, we'll have these organs available. We can, we have the technique of genetically modifying, so if there are more tweaking required for modifying the genes, we will be able to do that, and can customize basically the heart or the organ for the patient.
In an opinion piece published on the 20th anniversary of the opening of Guantanamo Bay Prison this week, the U.S. Congresswoman ILHAN Omar called for its closure. She urged younger Americans to make it a day to reflect and to act, as well as put pressure on President Joe Biden to close the prison. The Minnesota Democrat wrote in her piece, which was published in Teen Vogue magazine Tuesday, that Congress has acted to frustrate rather than facilitate closing Guantanamo. Nearly 800 Muslim men and boys have been detained there over 4 administrations, she wrote. A 2021 letter from more than 100 organizations, including the Center for Constitutional Rights and the Center for Victims of Torture, support closing the prison. In a similar statement this week, a group of independent human rights experts appointed by the UN Human Rights Council condemned Guantanamo's continued operation. They called 2 decades of practicing arbitrary detention without trial accompanied by torture or ill treatment is simply unacceptable for any government, particularly a government which has a stated claim to protecting human rights. Virginia State Senator Amanda Chase was criticized by Muslim and Jewish groups for comments against ending mask mandates. In a Facebook post on her personal page, Chase attempted to draw parallels between masks and the niqab, a face veil worn by some Muslim women. In her post, Chase claimed that Muslim face covering was an attempt by men to strip women of independence and break their will and individuality. She alleged that 2,300 years ago, long before Islam, Arabs discovered that forcing people to cover their nose and mouths broke their will and individuality and depersonalized them. It made them submissive. That's why they imposed on every woman the mandatory use of a fabric over her face. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the appeal of a woman who left Alabama to join ISIS, but then decided she wanted to return home. The justices declined to consider the appeal without comment on Monday. 27-year-old Hoda Muthana was born in New Jersey and grew up near Birmingham. Aviation regulators briefly halted flights from U.S. airports on the West Coast as a precaution on Monday, after North Korea launched a high-speed missile test. The ground stop paused departures from an unspecified number of airports for less than 15 minutes. North Korea's hypersonic missile flew at nearly 10 times the speed of sound into waters off its eastern coast. The move ratcheted up tensions in the area with the United States. This is the third reported North Korean test of an hypersonic gliding missile. The country tested missiles last week and in September. Sukuk issuances surged Tuesday by 36% year-on-year to hit $252.3 billion in 2021, according to Fitch ratings. A sukuk is an Islamic financial certificate similar to a bond in Western finance that complies with Islamic religious law or Sharia. Central bank, governments, and multilateral institutions dominated sukuk issuances, the global rating agency said. It highlighted that local currency sukuk amounted to 80% of the sukuk issuance, while hard currency issuance amounted to 20%. About 41% of all sukuk issued last year were in Indonesian rupiah, followed by US dollars, Malaysian ringgit, Saudi riyal, and Turkish lira. Mali's military ruler said on Monday he's open to talks with West African Economic Bloc ECOWAS about returning his nation to civilian rule. President Assimi Goïta asked the group to reconsider sanctions imposed on Mali over his refusal to hold elections next month. Goïta said in a statement broadcast on state television, "We're asking ECOWAS to reconsider the situation our country finds itself in and what's in the best interest of the Malian people." The 15-member regional bloc froze Malian assets as the region's central bank and commercial lenders in members' states. It also suspended non-essential financial transactions and ordered land borders to be closed. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday said it will contribute roughly $308 million in humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. But the newly announced aid falls far short of the war-torn country's immediate needs. Millions of Afghans are on the brink of starvation and at the risk of freezing to death in the aftermath of the U.S.-led war in the country, which ended in August. Meanwhile, the U.S. has refused to unfreeze $9.4 billion in Afghan government assets, despite growing pressure from progressive congressional members and human rights advocates. On Tuesday, the United Nations launched its largest single-country aid appeal, requesting just over $5 billion in assistance for Afghanistan. During the financial crunch in Afghanistan, there is a person who is happy that his business is down. To learn more about a coffin maker in Afghanistan, let's watch this report.
This Afghan is happy that his business is down. Deaths have brought him business, but peace has slowed down his business. He is nevertheless happy that the war is over in Afghanistan. Here is Faiz Muhammad. In the past, there were a lot of fights, a lot of coffins were sold, but now there is no war. That's why the coffins are not sold. We are happy because there is no war, and the Taliban have caused us to quit the coffin business and find another carpentry job. And here is Sher Khan. Thankfully, the war ended and peace came. Although our business is bad and the coffins are not sold, but I am glad that the war is over. Let us find another healthy job and a good wage. But the world is worried that the coffin maker may get busy again. People may get killed again, not just by bombs, but because of hunger. The United Nations World Food Programme is predicting 22.8 million people will be severely impacted. Afghanistan is free of occupation, but not free from the climate disaster, not free from the impact of 40 years-long wars. And they have no economy left, while the United States still sits on $9.5 billion of Afghan funds. Peanuts for America. But the absence of these peanuts might just kill Afghans.
Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev issued a rare criticism of his long-ruling predecessor Tuesday. Tokayev said he expected Russian-led forces to leave the Central Asian country in the next 10 days. The oil-rich country's descent into chaos has laid bare infighting at the top. Tokayev's mentor, 81-year-old Nursultan Nazarbayev, retains the constitutional status of leader of the nation despite stepping down from the presidency in 2019. Tokayev criticized Nazarbayev in a live video conference as the country reels from unprecedented violence that began with peaceful protests over an energy price hike. He said Nazarbayev's rule had created a wealthy elite. Israeli authorities blocked the appointment of new Palestinian security guards at the Al-Aqsa compound in occupied East Jerusalem's Old City. Authorities threatened Palestine's Jerusalem's Islamic Waqf with arrest if they refuse to comply. The religious trust administers the Al-Aqsa compound and needs new guards. There have been no new guards appointed to oversee the sacred esplanade since 2017. The Waqf usually nominates a list of names of guards and sends it to Jordan's Ministry of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs for approval. Jordan acts as a custodian of the sacred compound as part of a joint agreement with Israel. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear. hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to discuss the key findings of a new report titled Islamophobia in the Mainstream by the Council of American Islamic Relations, or CARE. Let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Hena. CARE has found out that $105 million have been donated in the last couple of years by not-for-profit organizations to other not-for-profit organizations to create hate against Muslim organizations. What is going on here? $105 million is quite a bit of money. Let's ask someone who knows about these things. Edward Ahmed Mitchell is joining us. He's the Deputy Director of CARE National. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Imam. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us, what are the findings of this particular report which you issued yesterday?
Sure, Bismillah. So as you know, Imam, CARE releases regular civil rights reports to document various issues impacting the Muslim community and how we are responding to those issues, including the issue of Islamophobia. A few years ago, we released a report documenting the amount of funding that mainstream charitable foundations were giving to anti-Muslim hate groups. We exposed a lot of that funding, and alhamdulillah, a lot of the funding disappeared. About $50 million worth of funding disappeared to these anti-Muslim hate groups. But that still left a lot of funding left. Our new report that we just released, Islamophobia in the Mainstream, shows that of the 50 largest charitable foundations that we reviewed, 35 of them had donated money to Islamophobic groups, totaling about $105 million. That is a massive amount of money. Again, that's progress technically because they were getting more money a few years ago, but that's still a massive amount of money that is going to anti-Muslim hate groups, which they then use to spread fear and hatred of Muslims, which obviously contributes to discrimination, hate crimes, and other experiences that confront Muslim Americans.
What are some of the names of these mainstream charitable organization which is doing such a charity to hate us?
Yes. So I'll give you a few. So for example, Christian Advocates Serving Evangelism, Fidelity Charitable Gift Fund, the Schwab Charitable Gift Fund, the Marcus Foundation, the Adelson Family Foundation, the Jewish Communal Fund. These are some of the foundations that gave money to Islamophobic groups between 2017 and 2019. One of the biggest recipients of this money was the American Center for Law and Justice, the ACLJ. They received $60 million from Christian Advocates Serving Evangelism between 2017 and 2019. Now, this firm, ACLJ, this organization, they have supported numerous anti-Muslim policies, from the Muslim ban. They defended Oklahoma's anti-foreign laws, also anti-Sharia law years ago. So this is an entity that has tried to target Muslims in the court of law, and they got a lot of money that allows them to do that kind of thing.
Has CARE reached out to these entities who are giving this money?
So that would be the
not-for-profit organization. They are not-for-profit organization. What about a dialogue with these people?
So look, some of them know what they're doing, and they are very deliberate in funding anti-Muslim hate groups because they themselves support anti-Muslim bigotry. So there's no talking to some of them. They are doing what they very much want to do. For other foundations, that may not realize exactly who they're donating to, may not realize the harm that these entities are causing, yes, we are open to reaching out to them again to see if we can show them the light. But for the most part, these foundations know what they're doing. They don't give away money all willy-nilly, not knowing who they're giving $80,000 to. That's a lot of money to hand to someone without knowing what they're doing. So sadly, many of these foundations, they know exactly what they're doing and what impact this money is going to have.
Edward, what are the spending level Muslims have to fight Islamophobia in this country?
Well, sadly, well, I won't say sadly, but it pales in comparison. If you look at the budget of CARE or other major Muslim organizations, you're not talking about $105 million. Far short of it. We do a lot of great work with limited resources, mashallah. So we are fighting people who are much more well-funded than us, are much more widespread than us in terms of their numbers in this country. But alhamdulillah, we hold our own. We are very effective at fighting back against them. And it's not because we're so smart, it's because we've got the truth on our side. We have God on our side. We are advocating for what is right. They are advocating for racism and bigotry and discrimination and hatred. And so they are doomed to lose. So even though, yes, we might be the David in this fight with Goliath, we know how that story ended for David, may peace be upon him.
How these Islamophobic organizations are using this $105 million giving to them by not-for-profit organizations?
Well, of course, I mean, it's well known. So they will, for example, write articles that smear American Muslim leaders and organizations so that anytime you look up a Muslim leader on Google, for example, you'll see these crazy, horrific articles smearing their name. They obviously send out things like DVDs and CDs with anti-Muslim content. They every day are publishing content online that targets Muslims. They spread misinformation about Islam. These are the things that these hate groups are doing. I'll give you one example. The Investigative Project on Terrorism, the anti-Muslim hate group founded by that right-wing extremist Stephen Emerson, they received over $1 million from some of these charitable foundations in 2017 and 2018. And so we know what they've been doing. They have been spying on and surveilling the Muslim community. They've been paying spies to do this. And so what is being done with this money is absolutely unacceptable, and it's harmful.
Well, spying on Muslims, Muslim organization, I mean, CARE has discovered multiple cases like that. So some of that money, it seems, going and paying people to do this type of dirty work and increase the Islamophobia. So could you share more detail about it?
Yes, absolutely. So over last fall, we learned that Roman Iqbal, the director of CARE Ohio, had been spying on CARE on behalf of an anti-Muslim hate group. He was obviously terminated after he confessed to doing this. But what we also learned is that this anti-Muslim hate group, IPT, had been targeting other Muslim leaders and Muslim organizations using paid spies. So over the past month, we have been vetting, uncovering more information about what this hate group was doing. Alhamdulillah, 2 people who spied on the community for IPT have voluntarily come forward to confess what they did and cooperate with our investigation. One of them is a Muslim who lived in Virginia and spied on the community for IPT from 2008 to 2012 when he quit. He came forward voluntarily, apologized, and said, he wants to cooperate. So he's been doing that, cooperating. The other person is a longtime IPT staffer who turned against the organization after realizing that they were targeting innocent Muslims and that they were essentially working, these are their words, working as an Israel lobbying organization, that they were not trying to help America, they were trying to help a foreign government. And so this whistleblower turned against IPT and provided us with extensive information about what they were doing to target the community. And so today we've released a lot of the information about what this group has been doing to Muslims over the past 10 plus years.
Can the not-for-profit status of these people be questioned and challenged if they were providing information and working as an agent of a foreign nation?
So if it turns out, if it can be proven that this hate group or any other group was working as an unregistered foreign agent, that would definitely be a federal crime. Now, it's a high standard to meet. There would have to be clear proof of it. We have evidence already that this hate group was collaborating with, communicating with, and providing assistance to the Israeli government, specifically 2 Israeli intelligence officials in the office of then Prime Minister Netanyahu. We literally have emails that include a message that Stephen Emerson sends to his staff with the subject line, "Urgent research requests from Prime Minister Netanyahu's office." In another incident, the Israeli government reached out to IPT and asked them for information about Students for Justice in Palestine, an American college student group. And so there's clear evidence of coordination and collaboration. Now, does that rise to the level of IPT acting as a foreign agent? I'm a lawyer, former prosecutor. I think, law enforcement would have to investigate further and gather more information to reach that conclusion. But what we know so far is very, very concerning.
Definitely, and it deals with the individual security of people, because the Jewish Defense League in the past, a terrorist entity, has killed people of their support for Palestine in the United States. So it's a very serious matter of these things. So what are the next steps which CARE is suggesting to the Muslim community to watch out when they hire people?
I don't think the community should feel paranoid or overly concerned. For the most part, this anti-Muslim hate group was not using spies within the organizations. Rather, they were using people who were volunteers, active in the community, or people who were just pretending to be Muslim to attend public events, to surveil, and then sometimes also to get into private conversations. There's really no way to vet people in that way. If a hate group is willing to pay someone to pretend to be a Muslim, that's what they're going to do, and you really can't deal with that. The fact is that for us as Muslims, what we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, which is to advocate for justice, to speak the truth, and to treat people well. Because in all these conversations this hate group was recording, they found nothing damaging to use against the Muslim community. They found civil rights work and interfaith dialogue and advocacy work. So as long as we just keep doing what we're doing, which is the right thing, even if someone records us, that's wrong, it's unethical, it's illegal in some cases, and we will fight to stop it. But it's not going to directly hurt us because there's nothing to uncover. There's nothing to find that is harmful to us, inshallah.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Edward Ahmed Mitchell. Edward Ahmed Mitchell is Deputy Director of CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations at the national level. Thank you for your time, and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Imam. Wa alaikum assalam.
Back to you, Hena.
Thank you so much, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.